collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at the Wild Docking Set WKS-01 Optimus Prime and Light Long from the brand new Transformers Wild King line from Takara Tomy. So this is a Japanese exclusive line. I don't think Hasbro has any plans to do anything with this as of right now. That could change. But it's a very basic toy line, which has a very basic little story to go along with it. If you're not familiar, they've been putting out little YouTube shorts, like, mini episodes. And the basic premise is that Megatron and Optimus go to this planet looking for resources. It's a new kind of elemental energy. And they run into the planet's inhabitants that are all animals. Well, Optimus seems to be making friends with all of the, animals, and then everyone that Megatron has been making friends with are dinosaurs. I guess it's two different clans on the planet, kind of the animal clan and the dinosaur clan. So it looks really fun. Optimus and Megatron are both kind of the cores, and then you have all these little friends. I think it's the same basic mold for everyone. They just come with, different animal parts to clip onto them. You can see over here, they have a little pic of Optimus combined with 4 of them. Now, as of right now, you'd have to mix. There's only 2 dinosaurs and 2 animals available. There are going to be more releases coming soon. So I'm trying to get my hands on as many of these as I can. I cannot find the elephant and the Triceratops to save my life. The only 2 places I know to look for these are Amazon Japan and HLJ. And Amazon Japan, where I got this, I never saw a listing for the elephant or the Triceratops. I did see listings on HLJ, but they kind of went order stop almost immediately. They came back in stock for a brief second, and I did order them, but I have not been charged for them. I don't know what's happening. They're just kind of in limbo. May never happen. They may never get more in. I don't know why this kind of first release was so limited. Maybe they're gauging interest. Maybe they'll make more. Fingers crossed, because, like I said, I'm very excited for this. And it just looks like a good time. I mean, I don't need much of a story. They've kind of given me the basics, and I'm ready to go. So, as you can see on the front of the packaging here, Optimus kind of has his basic robot mode. He also has a vehicle mode. And then when he combines with any of the partners, they either take the place of an arm or a leg. And then you can kind of attach their elemental piece or chip, whatever we want to call these, here onto the chest. And there's one for every person that you use, so you can have up to 4, for one for each limb. It just looks really fun. I'm really excited. So here's a cool picture of Optimus connected here with Light Long, who is a giraffe, if I haven't mentioned that yet. Over here on the side shows you what is included. You have Optimus. You have this little extra headpiece for the combined mode. You have an axe. You have these 2 pieces here that act as feet when you combine with the others. And then you have, this is kind of the basic core piece of everyone. And then you have the kind of, giraffe head there to kind of make him a giraffe. And then I'm assuming this will be a tail, but it's also his weapon, and then his little element piece there. So, spinning around to the back, it shows you that these guys also have robot and beast modes, and then they can combine. Now, they can be any limb, any leg, it doesn't matter. At this point, I can't really have him be one leg. You need at least 2 to do legs, because I can't have him hopping around on one leg. But when I open up Megatron, then I'll show some different variations and things that we can do. I'm really excited. I'm going to go ahead, get everything out of the box here so we can take a closer look. So here is everything you get in the packaging. You can see we have our 2 main figures here with Optimus Prime and Light Long, and then they have these extra accessories. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give them their extra accessories. Now you have these 2 little pieces here, and what they do is if you spin Optimus around, they peg in here on the back. I guess they just kind of act as extra heel pieces for now. I don't really know what purpose they serve. They have a spot to go on robot mode and the vehicle mode, but I haven't really seen a use for them in the combined modes. Maybe there's going to be some combination later on that will need extra pieces. I don't know. But you also have this axe, which is done primarily here in this blue plastic with a little bit of silver paint for the edge there, which looks pretty good. And then you have this piece here, which will be his upgraded helmet for the combined mode. You can see that there's some nice silver and gold paint here. For now, you are supposed to store this on the axe. So you can see kind of the piece in there that's going to clip around here. So you just kind of clip this on. And it can be a little, there we go. So that just kind of hangs out there for now. Now you'll notice here that the peg hole is kind of shaped like a keyhole. So there's only one way you can put these into the hands. because you can see that the keyhole shape is here on the fist as well. So that will make it so you can only pop these in one way. You just have to line that up, and then it will insert right in there. And now we have a fully decked out Optimus with his axe. As far as light long goes, we are going to take the giraffe head, and you can take this piece here and fold it down so that you change it from 2 pegs to 1. And then that is going to peg in here to the side of his arm. You're going to take his little axe piece, and this has the same kind of keyhole shape so that you can only peg it into the hand one way. So line that up and peg that in. And then we are going to take his element, which is lightning. So we get him to stand for a moment. We can take a closer look. You can see it's done out of the same kind of tan plastic as the rest of him, but then it's painted this really nice gold. And you can see the little lightning bolt there. And this is going to peg into his chest like so. Line that up. And there we go. We have our 2 completed, fully assembled figures here for Optimus and Lightlong. And I have to admit, they're bigger than I thought they would be. This is about as big as I expected the little support buddies to be. But I don't know why I didn't expect Optimus to be this big. He's probably about the size of a current Voyager. So if I bring Prime in here, we'll move Lightlong off to the side for a moment. He's actually slightly taller. Now, some Voyagers are bigger than others, but I would say he's about the same size as a current Voyager. Maybe slightly bigger. And then I would say with Lightlong, he's bigger than, say, a core class. But if we bring in like a deluxe, he's not quite as big as a deluxe, but maybe slightly bigger. I don't have a core class handy. Well, here you go. He's about the same size as deluxe animated Bumblebee. Which is saying something that, you know, these two guys, these 2 deluxes were the same price point, but that's an argument for another day. Let me get Optimus out of the way so we can actually see these guys here all together. There we go. Just to give you a little size comparison there. Okay. Now let's get into the exciting stuff. Since he's on frame, or in frame, let's go ahead and start here with Lightlong. So he is Lightlong because he possesses the lightning element and also the, you know, long neck like a giraffe. Head sculpt is pretty good. I really like the silver paint there for the face, the blue for the eyes. You have kind of a yellowish tan, light tan for the head and a little bit of brown. I'm assuming to be kind of like the ears of a giraffe. Or I guess, are those really ears? Those little, like, little nubs that they have? No, I guess these are their ears, aren't they? So they're like antlers? I don't know. I am not a zoologist, but I think he looks cool. Head cannot move. That is completely stationary. You don't have to peg the giraffe head into the shoulder if you don't want to, but that's kind of what you're meant to do because he's got to store it somewhere. But you can move the shoulders up and down a little bit due to the transformation, but it's definitely handy for the robot mode as well. You have a spin here at the shoulder. You have an elbow bend. You also have a bicep swivel. Now you can see here that the giraffe leg is one molded piece, and they have painted a fist here, but there's nothing you can do about this giraffe piece. It would have been nice if that could have like bended back and just hung back here, but it's not that big a deal. You have a swivel here at the waist. You have a nice ball joint here for the hip, kicked pretty far out to the front, to the side, and to the back. You have a thigh swivel here. Now, the way this is done, it doesn't really look like it wants to come back this way. It kind of can, but I would say it's mostly for going that way, just because of the way this piece is kind of beveled. But you have some nice silver paint there on the inside of the thigh. And then you have crazy knee bend because it's meant to go all the way around. But that is your knee bend there. And then this is all one solid piece. So pretty decent articulation for a figure this small. I like him quite a bit. Let's go ahead and get into Optimus's articulation, and then we'll start getting into some transformations here. So here is Optimus. Let me tilt this back up. Like I said, he's a good size. He kind of feels a little hollow, but that's meant to be that way because you can actually store things in his legs and whatnot. I'm going to go ahead and take the axe out of his hand temporarily here. Come on. There we go. So head sculpt is pretty good. The eyes are a little sunken in, so it's kind of hard to see them, but they are nicely painted blue. Let me see what I can do here about... Yeah, it's kind of hard. The crest and the way the face mask comes out, the eyes are kind of set deep in there. But they are painted blue. Nice silver for the face mask. Silver here for the crest. All that's pretty nice. Head can tilt back about that much. Now this piece here is meant to, you can see kind of the whole gray piece that the head is connected to. It's meant to swivel into the body. So sometimes that tries to move around a little bit. But you can move the head side to side, no problem. Like I said, you can look up a little bit. Can't really look down all that much. That's about what you can get out of that. Not really any side to side tilt. Swivel here at the shoulder as well as out to the side movement. And then you have a swivel here where the gray meets the red. So nice swivel there. Elbow bend. The hand is stationary. That is set into the arm. Now these are meant to come off for the connections. And sometimes like the joints are really tight on mine. So you'll go to move the arm and the connection will just pop off. But you just plug it back in. That's what it's meant to do. So no problems there. There is a swivel here at the waist. This piece here on the back you can lift up if you want, so that you can kind of move, get a little bit better handle on moving the hips. If you want to kick all the way back, you can. Kick all the way forward. If I move the arm out of the way, you can kick really far out to the side. Now the wheel's going to hit into that a little bit, but pretty good. And then you get a nice 90-degree bend there at the knee. Now, the way this works, you can kind of see how there's like a little channel in there for this nub to kind of sit in. So when you're bringing the knee back, you're going to have to kind of contend with that, but it's not an issue. Really nice silver paint down here for the shins, a little bit of blue here on the hips. I like all the, I said blue, that's obviously yellow. The yellow here for the windows, I think looks good. A little bit of yellow here on the forearms as well. He's fun. Now, he doesn't have any ankle tilt. I will say that's one thing I'm kind of missing is ankle tilt. But he's pretty cool. And, you know, he's more functionality than, like, there's a reason there's no ankle tilt, and we'll get into it. But it has to do with the transformations and combinations and such. So far, very cool. I'm having a lot of fun with this. Let's go ahead. We'll do Optimus's vehicle mode transformation first. So transformation is pretty simplistic. There's not really much to it. We're going to start by pushing this head piece down that I talked about earlier, and then that's going to kind of swivel this piece out like so. We are going to spin him at the waist 180 degrees like that. If you had this piece moved up at all, you want to make sure that this tabbed piece is right into that little tab slot and push that all the way down in there. Then on this piece that just rotated up, you can see that there is a slot, and that is for these tabs to go in and tab into. And then you want to bend this at the elbow and leave these out to the side for now. So bring this back and tab that into the gray piece, flip this up, and then this is going to come in, and this is going to, you can see there's kind of like a little notch right here, and that is for this tab right here. So that's going to come in and notch in like that. Do the same thing over here. And that will notch in. And then you are going to put the two legs together. Snap them together like that. And then you're just going to bend this, not this section, just at the hips. This is going to come up. And then you can see that there's kind of like little notches right here on the kneecaps. And those are going to notch into these little two tabs right here. So this is going to come up and just kind of notch into that. Like so. There we go. And there we go. That is the majority of Optimus in his truck mode. You're going to bring these little pieces, if you hadn't taken them off the back of the legs, go ahead and do so. They're going to peg in right here and here. So this pops on here, and this pops on here. Now, you don't have to do that. If you don't like the look of that, you can just leave them off to the side. Again, I don't really know what these are for. The directions don't really... They mention putting them on the back, and then they never really mention them again. So again, maybe they'll be for something in the future. If you want to leave them off, if you don't really have to attach them to the back of the legs. It's just there if you wanted to. That wasn't connected all the way. There we go. Probably why the notching was not working the best. But again, that's where they go if you want. Bring the axe back in. The helmet piece will pop off. You can see that there are 2 slots on the back of his head. That is for these little notches. And this will pop in here. And then the axe has a little tab right there, which will tab into the side of his arm. Actually, I think it's this one here. And that goes there. And so you can store everything in the vehicle mode. And it rolls pretty well. Again, a little simplistic. He doesn't have a trailer or anything like that, but he doesn't need one. Just needs to get around the farthest of this new planet so he can make some new allies. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Rolls well, simple transformation. Looks okay. I mean, it's definitely not a traditional, looking cab. Of course, you have the yellow windows. But I kind of like the stylized version, and it's just neat. And like I said, if you don't want to attach all these extra pieces, you definitely don't have to. You can just put them off to the side. But if you want to store everything here in the vehicle mode, you absolutely can. Moving on next for the transformation for Light Long, we are going to go ahead, remove his axe weapon, which can be easier said than done. We are going to remove the giraffe head, and we are going to remove his little element. Now, I would imagine most of the extra little friends are going to transform in very, very similar fashion, but you're going to start by coming around to the back. There's a gray backpack here. This is going to flip back so that you can drop the head in and then close it back up. At this point, you will straighten out the legs like so, and then they will come together to peg into each other like that. You will then rotate the legs so that the giraffe toes are pointing upward. You will then rotate this 180 degrees at the waist. Then you need to push this all together here and this. And sometimes, depending on how you have like the thigh swivel engaged, you have to kind of move them around to line it up. But you're going to just push it together there, and then you're going to just bring this down. And you can see that's kind of the core body there. Like I said, I would imagine a lot of these are going to transform very similarly. It's probably just going to be a manipulation of these pieces here. You're going to take the little axe piece, and you can see that there's a spot right there for this big tab. This is going to tab in right there, and then this will just kind of hang down as the giraffe tail. You're going to take the giraffe head, and you're going to have to push this piece back up so that now you have the 2 connections. And you can see that one is longer than the other. I think they did that because if they wanted it to be secure, but if they made them both long, you'd never get this thing out of here. So you're just going to drop this in, the smaller ones just kind of to guide it. And then you can just kind of put this at whatever angle you feel most comfortable with, but you can get a decent range of motion. I kind of just like to sit it up there till it's flush, and then just kind of bring the giraffe head down. And then we're going to take his element and attach it here onto the front. And there we go. There is Light Long in his giraffe mode. He looks great. You have range of motion here. These can bend this way, but they can also bend this way. So if you wanted to bend the arms in either direction at what was the elbow. These pieces are all kind of connected in here, so really you're just going to have the leg movement of just kind of the tan pieces. Technically, if you want, you could move the tail around a little bit. You can move the neck around a little bit, and you can move the giraffe head up a little bit. And the giraffe head looks pretty good. Nice blue paint there for the eyes. A little bit of brown there on the crest, and then the, I don't know, I guess I'm sticking with antlers. But you can see like all the molding in here for the giraffe skin. I think that looks pretty good. You also have a mushroom peg right here so that you can move the giraffe neck around. And technically you also have this piece that can flip around if for some reason you wanted to make him a unicorn giraffe. I don't really know what the point of that is, but it is there. But yeah, he makes a cool little giraffe. I like him. So here are the two side by side in their respective alt modes. You can see he's probably about half as long, we'll say, in giraffe mode as Optimus's truck here. But obviously a little bit taller. Technically, if you wanted, you could have him kind of hitch a ride here on the back of Optimus. He fits pretty decently well on there. I mean, you probably could have him stand back there in robot mode as well, if you wanted to. But yeah, they look good together. But of course, they can combine. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Alright, so I've gone ahead and removed all of their pieces for this and returned them to robot mode just because that's the simplest thing to do. Obviously, you need Optimus to be in robot mode. Light Long, it's easy enough to get him into the combined mode from the giraffe as well, but the directions show from robot, so I'm just going to show it to you from robot. It's like half of the way to the giraffe mode, except for like one step. You'll see what I mean. So, starting with Optimus. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and put these pieces back here on the back. It doesn't really matter. They can just be stored there. You're going to take the arm and pop it off at that section. You are going to fold this piece down, like so. Then you are going to open his leg, which now you understand why it was hollow. And you can store the arm in here. So this will peg in right there. And so this just pops right in and then closes back up. And that way you don't have to worry about losing any arms because you have something connected in here, which I think is so cool. I absolutely love that. You're also going to take the helmet and you are going to pop this into, there are two slots on the back of his head. And you can see that there are two pegs there. So you're just going to kind of drop this down behind his head. And then that will snap on pretty snugly. So you can see, kind of gives him a larger looking helmet, which is really cool. And then you're going to take this piece here and flip it down. And sometimes it can be a little tough, but you're going to unpeg that and bring this down. And it feels like it kind of wants to stop there, but I promise you are supposed to push it all the way down. And you can see how really nicely painted and detailed. It kind of looks like the Matrix with that kind of gold with the blue in the center there. Really nice silver paint and gold paint all down here as well. And that's where you can peg in up to 4 of the elements. So Optimus is ready to go. We're going to take Light Long. We are going to pop this back. Once again, push the head inside and close this up. Once again, we are going to rotate these pieces up and peg them in. Just like that, and then straighten this out, and then once again, rotate it so that the toes are painting upward. Like that. Then, you are not going to spin him at the waist. So, if you were going into giraffe mode, everything's been the same so far, you would normally spin him at the waist. Instead, you're just going to peg these together, and then you're going to bend him at the knee all the way around. And there's kind of like a little notch here for this to kind of come up, and you can see the little notch in the foot there. And then that comes up and does the same. And there you go. And you can kind of see that they've molded a hand in here. You can kind of see the thumb. It's 2 different colors, but kind of the tip of the thumb here. And then this is kind of the outer part of the hand. So when I first did this, I was like, they didn't give anything to, like, you'd think there would be a fist piece or something to peg in here, but they've kind of molded the hand in here. And you can also see it's got the connector there. So if you wanted him to hold on to the axe, you still can. So if you want him to hold the axe, I think that's really cool. I appreciate that. They've kind of put that in what is now the new fist. This piece can also peg in here as well. So if you want him to hold either of the accessories there, you can certainly do that. Now, what I find, before I peg this in, I like to come over to Optimus, take the giraffe. You're supposed to point this up. This little gray piece that I mentioned earlier is supposed to pop up. Doesn't really do anything. Looks kind of neat. Push this up so that the 2 connections are there. And then you're going to peg that here into the shoulder. I find that this is kind of a tight connection. And if I try to do it after I pegged the arm in, it tends to send the arm flying across the room. So we'll peg that in like that. And then this is going to connect there to here, like so. There we go. And then the last finishing touch is to take the element piece and pop that here into the chest in the quadrant that corresponds to the limb that was replaced. And there we go. We got Optimus Prime with Light Long connected as an arm. Very cool. It's simple, but I love it. I don't know what it is. I just think it's a lot of fun. Like I said, you can still use the weapons if you want to put like this weapon in this hand and then maybe give him the axe in the other hand. You could do that or switch him around, whatever you prefer. In the show, he just kind of like lightning punches with his new arm, so that's also a thing that you could simulate. But yeah, it's cool. And I mean, all the articulation's still there with the exception of the elbow because that's been replaced. But I mean, all the shoulder articulation's still there. The legs are the same. Yeah, this is fun. I cannot wait to get a ton of these and just make a bunch of different crazy combos. I can't wait until I have 4 of them so I can do all 4 of the limbs at once. I just love it. This is really fun. I like this a lot. Now, while I only have 1, and it doesn't really make sense to try to do the leg mode with just 1 because he'd be hopping around, I wanted to at least just show you what it looks like. So basically, you're going to pop these off. So you kind of want to pop these kneecaps away just the slightest little bit. And then these connections are very, very similar to how the arms connect. So you're going to pop these off. Now, the reason I'm popping off both of them is because you technically have to switch them. Because what you're going to do, if you have these pieces attached, you have to take these off. And then the leg sits like this. That knee pad now becomes his toe. And so these are the base for his new feet. Now, the reason you have to switch them is because the wheels would be on the outside like this, but if you try to go like this, the wheels would be on the inside. It looks weird. So when you take these off, you have to switch them so that the wheels go on the outside. So what you would do, you would take Light Long in the exact same configuration as the arm. You don't change them at all. You're going to connect this on here, like so. You are going to take the top connection and peg this now into the knee, like so. There we go. And then you're going to flip this part down, take the giraffe neck, and this is going to peg in as kind of a new kneecap. Like this. And then you can kind of put this at whatever angle you want. Oh, no, you know what? I pegged this into the wrong one. I'm sorry. It goes into the bottom one because otherwise it kind of gets in the way. So there we go. Now, it kind of goes nicely up to, the waist, so it's not too long. But if you, for whatever reason, wanted to angle it out a little bit, you could. It looks a little silly, but you could do it. But there you go. So that is him as a leg. And then you would take this and now you would peg it into this quadrant. Like that. So that is essentially what he would look like. Now again, I don't have another leg. I can kind of balance this. Maybe. There you go. So if I had to, I would do that with both legs. And then you can see he gains quite a bit of height. I mean, he was normally about there. He gets maybe an inch of height. So maybe not that much, but a decent amount. And you can see that they're kind of tilted so that he would kind of naturally be, it's like a little beveled out to the side since they don't have ankle tilt. But yeah, very fun. Can't wait till I get more of these so I can do a full combo, but that's at least what the leg mode looks like. So I gotta tell you, as my first foray into the brand new Transformers Wild King line from Takara Tomy, these are a ton of fun. This is the crazy, dumb, stupid stuff that I am all here for. It's just a fun play pattern, something that they can easily make a ton of characters out of because, like I said, they're all going to kind of share the same basic mold and just have kind of different animal pieces. It should be very easy for them to crank out a ton of these. and it's going to be a fun line. I hope it goes for a while. I hope it's not that short-lived. I would honestly even be open to more, Autobots and Decepticons. Maybe do a Starscream or a Soundwave somewhere down the line that you can also make combinations with. I mean, I kind of get the feeling it's only going to be Optimus and Megatron, and then all of the other guys, are going to be the little animal partners, but maybe there'll be some larger animal partner down the line and a combination of 10 little animal guys or something like that. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. These things have a ton of connection points. There's a lot of possibility with this. I'm really excited. If you can find these, because they've kind of been difficult to find, like I said, I'm wondering if they kind of underproduced the first couple to gauge response, and I think they're selling well, judging by the fact that I can't find them anywhere. So if you can find them for a reasonable price, I definitely recommend checking them out if you're a big Transformers fan like me. They're just crazy, stupid fun. There's not a ton of story going on here, but you don't really need a ton of story. They're just super fun, tiny little figures. Well, honestly, Optimus is a good size, but they're just super fun figures with a really fun play pattern, and I am all here for it. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.